Greetings, friends. With so much news about presidential transitions happening right now, I figured a little bonus episode on the presidential transition that is supposed to take place on Wednesday would be in order. So I hope you enjoy this special episode. Welcome to Letting Grow, the podcast about one of the spiritual journey's most difficult and courageous moments. Letting go of who we think we should be so we can grow into who we most deeply are. I'm your host, Claire Villarreal, and I appreciate your joining me today. I've been hearing a lot about presidential transitions recently, and obviously they usually go a little bit more smoothly than the transition between the Trump team and the Biden team is going right now in late 2020, early 2021. So I obviously turned to Google to help me understand what presidential transitions are supposed to be like, and I found this in an Atlantic article that you will find a link to in the show notes. In 2015, Congress passed legislation to start the transition process 6 months before the election. After the vote, the General Services Administration is supposed to give the president-elect access to office space, the intelligence services are supposed to brief the new team, and the FBI is supposed to start the security clearance process so that new hires will be able to start work right away. First of all, I didn't realize there were laws around this that were only passed in 2015. That's a little bit crazy. But the other thing that's really interesting to me is that in a presidential transition, you have one team starting to hand off their responsibilities to the next team. And what I didn't realize until I read a couple of articles about this is that often the new incoming team, everybody's trying to figure out what their job actually is. So it's this period when the old is letting go, giving up power, figuring out how best to transfer all the things they've been working on to the new team. The new team is figuring out what their responsibilities and duties are even supposed to be. So to me, that sounds a lot like the process of transitions that we've been talking about, where there's something old that breaks down and the energy and the resources wrapped up in that gets sort of refashioned into the new thing that is to come. What I didn't realize, though, until I heard an NPR article about this, is that often presidential transitions are a time when the U.S. is actually more vulnerable than at other times. And part of the reason for this is that the security team is focused on handing off what they know to the incoming administration. Nobody's exactly sure, what the new administration is going to look like, how people are going to fill those roles. So there's a little bit of uncertainty there, but also it seems to me from what I've read that there just is a certain amount of energy that people have to put into creating materials to hand off to the new administration. So there's just a certain amount of internal focus that goes on during these presidential transitions. And again, I find that very interesting and very similar to the sort of like internal gaze that often happens when we're personally going through a transition, or even when an organization is going through a transition. It just takes some of your energy away from your tasks that you would usually do, and you have to actually spend that energy thinking about what is your role? How do you do your role? How would someone else do it? How would you do it differently? So I wanted to share those thoughts about transitions, the presidential transition. I also just want to say, I really hope this goes well. As of the time that I'm recording this, which is, again, Monday, January 18th, on Wednesday, we'll have the inauguration of the new president. So we will see how things go. But until then, I hope you enjoy these couple of articles. I hope this gets you thinking about transitions in your own life, as well as presidential transitions. And I will talk to you at our regularly scheduled time on Wednesday. Okay, take care, y'all. Bye. Thanks for coming along for today's exploration of the process of letting grow. If you found this episode helpful, please share it. And subscribe now wherever you listen to podcasts so you're always in the loop. For links to more content related to today's episode, please see the show notes. See you again next week.